president of Portland Community College. And I'm excited to welcome you to PCC this morning on a great day. Enough light, but not too much sun and not too much heat, and it's not raining, so it can't get more perfect than this with having our esteemed guests on campus, right? Who did that? Right. Well, PCC is Oregon's largest post-secondary institution, serving over 50,000 students a year. And we're also one of the most diverse higher education institutions in the state. Not only are we an emerging Hispanic serving institution, but we have 4 campuses, 10 centers, and dozens of independent locations, with 1/3 of our student population being students of color. We also have a location that many of you might have heard of, and it's called Oregon Manufacturing Innovation Center Training in Scappoose. That's a lot to say, and I had to learn that and practice that several times before today. So the biggest barrier for college students that they face is really having their basic needs met. We've heard it through the pandemic. We continue to hear that today, and I don't think that's something that's going away. So our students can't learn if they don't have a safe place to sleep, enough food to eat, or if they can't even get to campus. So with the support of Governor Kotek, Representative Pham, and many others, PCC leads the statewide efforts to coordinate benefits navigators who connect students to critical resources like food programs, housing, childcare, and transportation. PCC also partners locally with TriMet to offer access for our students all year long. We're particularly proud to partner this summer for the free Summer 23 program, which connects students who rely on transit to free passes during the summer months. Now, this program is just one of many ways TriMet and PCC are partnering to increase access for our students and the region. I want to thank Secretary Buttigieg and Congressman Blumenauer for your leadership in bringing us together today to talk about advancing transportation opportunities in Portland. Secretary Buttigieg, wrong side. There you go. It's an honor to welcome you to Oregon and PCC. Congressman Blumenauer, thank you for being an amazing PCC champion. I'm so grateful for your partnership and everything you do to support Oregon students. I would also like to welcome Senator Merkley, Congresswoman Bonamici, Representative Pham, Portland Commissioner Mingus Mapps, and let me just make sure I didn't miss anyone. There we go. Thank you all for being here today, for your leadership on such an important issue for our city and our region. Lastly, I would like to welcome back to PCC Governor Tina Kotek, a champion for access and education. She is a great partner and exemplifies my favorite phrase, one together, together one. We cannot accomplish nearly as much alone, but together we can change the future to be more equitable for all. Please join me in welcoming Governor Tina Kotek.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Benning, for welcoming us to your campus, and to Congressman Blumenauer and his team for organizing today's event. Secretary Buttigieg, I am honored to welcome you to Oregon. Thank you for being here. Today, we will get an introduction to our region's efforts to transform 82nd Avenue into a civic corridor that reflects the vibrant and growing community that it serves. I'm smiling because there are a lot of people in this audience today that made the 82nd transformation happen. And you know who you are. I'm not going to mention all of you, but thank you for all your hard work. For too many years, leaders looked the other way while our urban arterials and orphaned highways became barriers to quality of life and livability. Many communities in Oregon, and I can attest to that from many conversations, and across the country, bear the scars of disinvestment in infrastructure, public spaces, and services. Those disinvestments often perpetuate poverty and racial inequality. Those scars must heal. And in America, the idea that a person can come from the right side or the wrong side of the tracks may be part of our history, but it must not be a part of our future. Thanks to the leadership of the Secretary here and that of President Biden, we are bringing this era of federal disinvestment to an end. We are fully acknowledging the direct connection between our infrastructure and access to transportation and our quality of life, prosperity, and equity. I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary, not only for your engagement on 82nd Avenue, but also for USDOT's recent RAISE grant award of $20 million to the city of Phoenix in Southern Oregon, a town, as many of you know, is still in the process of recovering from the massive wildfires in Labor Day 2020. We will continue to lean on the Secretary, the President, and the federal government for a strong partnership, innovative problem solving, and investment as we make our roadways safer and more reliable for all of our users. So thank you all for being here today. Before I introduce Senator Merkley, I want to recognize one particular person because I want to say, Mr. Secretary, you know how to acquire good talent. We are thrilled that you hired Irene Marion as your Director of the Departmental Office of Civil Rights. Congratulations, Irene, and we hope you'll come back to work in Oregon one day. But right now, thank you for making Oregon proud. And with that, I'd like to welcome our U.S. Senator, Senator Jeff Merkley.
Well, greetings, everyone, and it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Bennings, for your leadership of the community college. And I feel a strong connection to this place because when I was 6 years old, my family moved up from Southern Oregon to a house just a couple blocks from here. And with that background, and I still live even about a mile further east of here, I've always kind of been very aware of the fact that the eastern part of Portland was often neglected. The bulk of the county commissioners did not have a lot of experience this far east in Portland. And you could really see it in terms of the deterioration of the 82nd Street corridor. But that legacy of neglect is no more thanks to the projects that we're facing now. The commissioner, or the former city commissioner who really did pay attention to East Portland and who has continued to do so, including launching this invitation, is Earl Blumenauer. And so thank you for your role as a city commissioner, your role as a congressman, continuing to bring health and infrastructure to this part of our community. Deeply, deeply appreciated. So this corridor, just to give you a sense of this, in a 4-year period had 142 Vision Zero crashes. That is very severe crashes involving an injury or a death. So, that's 35, 40 a year. It's a lot. And it's just an indication of the challenges that we face here. And if you drive the corridor, you will see evidence of the diversity of the community. The community is almost half minority populations. It is great diversity of all kinds, and we're really close here to the Jade District, basically in the Jade District, which has a significant concentration of Asian Americans and a whole culture, and including a culinary culture. I invite you to all the restaurants along this row that goes with that. But immigrants from many, many countries have helped populate this part of our city. And as we see the developments here, we know that there will be fundamental investment in things like the street crossings, the signals for pedestrians and for bikes, the medians that make it a little easier to get across, tree plantings that both provide visual greenery but also just better health and shade and cooler temperatures, and ADA curb ramps, all that. But a lot more is being planned now because of the involvement of all of you. The key thing about this effort is that it involves intensive community consultation. That is the hallmark of a great project. It's been a hallmark of Congressman Blumenauer's investment in infrastructure, and this is going to be just a gold star example of that, and I'm so pleased with that. And let's look at the funding. $80 million from ARPA, $70 million from ODOT, $35 million from PBOT. I don't think I could have envisioned that I would be a moment that I could be standing here saying we're going to see nearly $200 million of actual investment with multiple partners. So, yay. So just as Congressman Blumenauer is Mr. Transportation on the east side, the person who knows here most about transportation on the west side, going out past Portland, is Suzanne Bonamici. We're so pleased to have her in Congress. Please give me welcome to Suzanne.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Dr. Bennings and PCC for hosting, and thank you to my friend and colleague, Earl Blumenauer. We're honored to share Portland and the representation of Portland. Welcome, Secretary Buttigieg. Thank you for taking the time to visit Portland and to tour this important project. You know, when we passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, it wasn't just to rebuild our crumbling national infrastructure as it was. We made an investment to build infrastructure for the future. And I'm grateful for the investments that have already been made in Northwest Oregon to increase access to clean energy and transit, including in the district I'm honored to represent west of here, renovating the Beaverton Transit Center to accommodate more electric buses. So we appreciate that investment, for sure. So we're here today at 82nd Avenue. As you've heard, a very important arterial for the city, but it offers much more than that. 82nd Avenue is an economic and cultural heart of a thriving and diverse community. There are countless stores and restaurants and other destinations that really reflect the cultural and language-specific needs of community members. But to continue the vision of growth here, there must be health and safety improvements. And that's one of the things we're going to celebrate today, is looking forward to making those improvements. Some of you know that 6 months ago, my husband and I were hit by a slow-moving vehicle while in a crosswalk in Northwest Portland. I'm grateful that we weren't seriously injured, but I have to say that it certainly intensified my appreciation for the continued work to make life-saving improvements like those that are planned here for 82nd Avenue, so our streets truly become welcoming and safe for everyone. Thank you. And we also have the opportunity to move away from a car-centric design, which creates significant health and environmental benefits. Making transit a priority along 82nd and other streets in our region will help reduce carbon emissions and other pollutants, and that's good for public health. The Building a Better 82nd project will also support the construction of new affordable housing, which is desperately needed, not just in this area, but across our state. And it's really needed in this area where many residents are overburdened by the high cost of housing. So our city streets are not just conduits for moving people and goods along, they're places where people live, work, and play. So Secretary Buttigieg, I appreciate your commitment and the commitment of the Biden administration to build a more connected and resilient nation. And I hope to continue working together on projects like making the Burnside Bridge more resilient and expanding the Portland streetcar system. So thank you again, everyone, for being here today. It is now my honor to introduce my colleague and friend who brought us together here, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, who is a champion for multimodal transportation, especially bicycles. Earl.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. For me, it's exciting to be at this specific location. I spent a number of years on the Portland Community College board trying to get them to put a facility in Southeast Portland. And I am excited that it finally happened. It shouldn't have been that hard, but it was worth the wait, I think. And the intersection with 82nd. For years, I have been introducing legislation dealing with orphan highways, Vision Zero, trying to promote a balanced transportation system and actually to invest money in it. But for the first time in my career in Congress, we have an administration that is dedicated to rebuilding and renewing America and spending money on it. So we just don't have to introduce the legislation. We have a chance to make it happen. And this is an example here today with 82nd. And I see Representative Fawn. I see Duncan is here, tall guy out of a Metro councilor. Shy in the corner, who did a lot of hard work in the last legislative session to be able to put those hard dollars together. And I am hopeful that this is a symbol of better things to come, because we have orphan highways across Oregon and around the country that have outlived their usefulness. They are no longer used for the purpose as sort of pre-freeways. They are the functional equivalent of city streets, but the cities don't have control. The state doesn't have the resources for them. They are neglected. And no better example is 82nd Avenue. 7 miles of opportunity and challenge. And we're poised now to finally take advantage of that. Opportunities for thousands of housing units. Opportunities to have 82nd Avenue not be an example of division, but an example of bringing us together. This is an extraordinary prospect, but I hope, Mr. Secretary, that it is the beginning of an orphan highway program at the federal level. I've got some bills I can dust off that might guide ways to spend this money. This is absolutely essential to deal with past wrongs, strengthen safety, deal with the slaughter on our highways now. This is a golden opportunity, and you have been in the pilot seat for your tenure as Secretary of Transportation. I've had the privilege of working with a number of them, good friends of mine, Ray LaHood. There's no one who's been a more articulate spokesperson for where we are and where we need to go with the transportation needs of all America. So we are honored to have you here today to showcase. I have not one, but 2 ceremonial bicycle pins. That's a limited edition. Yeah. And look forward to continuing this partnership with you. I think the Biden administration will be able to look back with pride at what you've helped us accomplish already and what we're about to proceed. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Congressman, for this and for your extraordinary leadership. I think you all know this, but just to be clear, through Washington and through the country, Congressman Blumenauer is known for his leadership on transportation, transportation safety, active transportation, and so many things that we are focused on in the Biden-Harris administration. So it means a lot to hear those kind words from him about what we are doing to make good, not only with moral support, but with hard dollars to deliver on those priorities and to make this the kind of country and to make every community of every size the kind of community where people can get around safely on 2 wheels, on foot, in wheelchairs, on transit, and in any other mode of transportation, because that really is essential to our economy, it's essential to our climate future, and it's what it means to really think about transportation for the future. I want to thank Representative Bonamici for her support for this legislation, this funding, what makes it possible for us to be in the Pacific Northwest this week celebrating good news and for us to be pointing to good projects getting done in literally every single state and territory in the country. We would not be here without that kind of support. Likewise, of course, Senator Merkley, who was with us from the beginning, who worked hard to make sure provisions ranging from active transportation to electric vehicles to supply chains got the support that they deserve so that we can get out here now, some 2 years after that legislation got signed by President Biden, and get to making it a reality. Thank you, President Bennings, for hosting us here and for speaking to the ways in which transportation is so important to students and students are so important to transportation. The latter because there's no way that we can deliver all of these projects or fix and operate all of these transit vehicles or do any of the other things that we have ambitiously set out to do without the success of the students who we were training for success in their careers. And likewise, of course, we know they can't succeed unless they can get to school and get to opportunity. And so we appreciate the partnership in making that a reality. To all of the community leaders and representatives who are here, you can really feel the energy and the commitment and the passion that goes into this. And I certainly want to acknowledge Governor Kotek and the importance that her administration has placed on transportation. I can tell you, when you have a state that gets how much these things matter, that makes it a lot easier for us to be a good partner at the federal level, and we so appreciate that work. And ultimately, so much of what we're doing with the federal dollars that are going out is actually going to be decided at the state and local level. We're consciously trying to empower state and local government to get big things done. And that's part of what we're here about today. So I'll be brief so we can really get on to this tour I'm really looking forward to seeing for myself. But just to emphasize what brings me here. First is, of course, to learn about the transportation needs here, what has been achieved and what is yet to be done, including along 82nd Avenue. And secondly, to share some updates about why this work matters so much in this moment. I've heard a lot about the story of 82nd Avenue, how the community around it has grown to become such an important and diverse hub of city life, while the road itself remains a relic of the days when it was only a thoroughfare for propelling cars and trucks along the edge of the city, with very few people walking or biking or shopping or working or going to school the way they do now. And that mismatch in uses, that disjointed nature of the relationship between past and present is endangering the future, because it makes this one of the most dangerous stretches of road in Portland, with disproportionate injury and loss of life suffered by communities of color. Over half of the fatal crashes in Portland happen on just 8% of the streets. That's why it's so important that I'll get to hear from elected and community leaders directly about their vision for this area and get to see it for myself. We are smack in the middle of delivering President Biden's once-in-a-generation infrastructure law, and community visions are driving the funding. Our philosophy is simple, which is that the projects, the designs, the ideas will not emanate from U.S. DOT headquarters in Washington, but more of the funding should. And that's what your delegation has helped make possible, and that's the approach we're bringing here. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten to see so many communities getting from pencils and drawing boards to moving money and eventually moving dirt. We were in Orangeburg, South Carolina, a place of deep importance in the history of civil rights in the United States, where a new pedestrian bridge will help reconnect over highways and rail tracks that divide that community. Earlier this morning was in Washougal in Washington State, where we're building an underpass so that railroad track no longer stops vehicle traffic as it now does for more than 2 hours a day. And we're thrilled with the good work that we're doing here in Portland. Since you let us take Irene Marion from you, we figured the least we could do is get you some good funding. And she's doing phenomenal work for us, by the way, as a key leader in the Department of Transportation. So we're investing $20 million to help make 122nd Avenue safer for people walking, biking, and driving. Excited about that. And we're supporting a project with a range of public and private stakeholders to establish zero-emissions delivery zones through a pilot that could become a wider model for sustainable deliveries across the city and the country. Just had a great conversation earlier today about the future of the Albina neighborhood, and I keep seeing everywhere I go how that role of transportation is so essential to the ability for people to live lives of their choosing. And this is just a handful, 30,000 places and counting around the country where we are seeing infrastructure improvements thanks to this. But the biggest thing I want to convey, and the main reason I'm here, is that community needs and community visions will define and drive the bulk of the work that we're doing. And for that reason, without further ado, I'm looking forward to joining community members and seeing for myself. Thanks again for the warm welcome here.
I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we're getting ready to embark on the tour, so feel free to mingle and connect, and we'll get started. Phase 2, right? Phase 2.
Phase 2.
Can you come over here? Thank you. Secretary Buttigieg, can I get a quick